To order, my name is Kelly Rosecrans, Chairman. Here comes the Mayor. Good afternoon. And we'll do a round the table introduction here of commission members, staff members, and guests also.
Dawn DeSorcy, staff.
Zach Bruink, Mayor.
Lee Tao, Commission Member.
Derek Johnson.
Mary Walasik, staff.
Craig Braun, Commission Member.
Tom Eckert, Commission Member.
Matt Heidemann, staff.
And we have some guests here tonight too.
Hello, I'm Craig Brooks.
Kelly Hennessy.
Sarah Saluski.
Tom Zahn.
Mike Sullivan.
Lee Graff. Okay, thank you. Okay, our first order of business here is to approve the March 14th. We didn't have a meeting in April. March 14th, 2018 minute, Park and Recreation. Everybody. Second by the Mayor, second by Derek. To approve, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Number 3, consider approval of a River Riders bike share rack placement at the Wisconsin Rapids Municipal Zoo. Who is our spokesperson, Sarah?
That would be me. So my name is Sarah Saluski. I work for Wood County Health Department. And as mentioned, we're looking at approval for a site for one of our bike share locations. I'm not sure if you're familiar with River Rider Bike Share. It started in 2014 as a community identified project that made bikes available to community residents and visitors at no cost for a 24-hour time frame. And then throughout the years, we outgrew our capacity to maintain the bikes, make sure that they were accounted for and trackable. And so we opted to look for funding for a more robust bike share, which is through Zagster. So this front page is just giving you a little bit more information about the past program and some of the challenges and positives that were identified. On the back page of the front cover, you'll find the new Zagster and a little information there. There's going to be 6 locations throughout the city of Wisconsin Rapids, one being McMillan Library, Quality Foods West Grand, Quality Foods Baker Drive, Goodwill Parking Lot, the zoo, Veterans Memorial Park. I'm going to sell 6. So we're here looking for approval for the zoo location. We hosted multiple community workshops, community surveys. We went to different targeted populations and asked folks where they would like to see bike share locations. And the zoo was one of the locations identified by community residents that otherwise I don't think that would have ever been on our radar. So it's kind of a neat opportunity through our community engagement pieces to look at that. So there's a spec sheet here. It takes up just a little over 22 feet in length. And so just a quick trip over to the zoo. I thought there was 2 different locations that looked like they could be amicable to our needs. So I include those in this packet. The first is by the front gate. I just put a little red line to kind of show you where I would envision it going. It should fit within that space. And then the second would be along the building. So first looking for approval of the site, and then second input on placement at the site. And any questions?
Okay, any commissioners have any questions? I just have one. How is that going with all your 6 sites? Is it
Sure.
Any problems?
Not yet. Still working with Goodwill. But all other sites we've received okay and just waiting for documents to come in.
Can I offer a third suggestion for a site?
Sure.
Right here. This is an old map, so it doesn't show the new parking lot,
Okay.
but there's no parking supposed to be beyond this point, basically, other than this is built out now so people can back up here to unload for the Helen's house, but this is all walking traffic in this area here,
Okay.
and it's kind of out of the way, and
Sure. I didn't know that we couldn't park further up, so I wouldn't
yeah,
have that,
there's
but-
no vehicle parking.
Matt, if you
Oh,
could just
yeah.
maybe hold up and show us.
Yeah.
Orient us here for.
Sure. This is an old map before the parking lot was redone, but basically this is the old parking lot, this is Helen's house. And this would be the northwest corner of the no vehicle parking zone.
Mhm.
I think that might be a good location as well.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great location.
That would
See,
probably be
the map that you have was our first initial, and we were trying to pick a parking spot with a bunch of snow on the ground. So we really had no clue where to put these.
Was it after the big snowstorm?
Yeah, we were
Oh.
waiting for the snow to go away to pick a new spot, yeah.
It made it difficult.
That'd probably be a better spot because this one might get in the way with traffic. you know,
Well,
people. and stuff.
yeah, and what I
This
was
is-
thinking, we'd still need a bike rack over there for the people that actually ride to the zoo to,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
to go through,
I
so.
think the location that you pointed out might actually be more visible as well
That's what I was
from the road.
thinking. People are walking past it into the zoo house and
Yeah, that's a great recommendation.
We have some of these in service already?
We do not. They'll be rolling out the second week of June at the
Oh,
moment.
at all the locations?
Yep,
Oh.
at all locations. There'll be 30 bikes total, and then we have an additional 3 accessible bikes coming. So we actually ordered 2 tandem side-by-side and 1 tricycle for folks with stability issues or looking for something to ride, or people who have a handicap, they can ride with the person on the tandem side-by-side.
the existing, so to speak, was the old no frills, go in
Yeah.
and sign a bike out from Hotel Mead or the IGA stores or
Okay.
those,
Yeah.
and that's where we got the data from the user and the ridership. Primarily the folks that didn't have work transportation to work, so they were either out on Huber or they were out on some other leave and they needed to get to work.
Right, the initial bike program came from a community resident idea, just to have bikes available so people could use it as recreation, physical activity. And that's how the program was designed, and we found that actually a lot of people are using bikes for transportation as well. So, those were community donated, and then leadership, the team leadership through Encourage, Rotary, the city was all part of actually dismantling, painting them, tagging them with a bike name and putting them back together, making them available. And so throughout the bike seasons, they kind of lived past their lifespan. So a lot of them actually went to Choose to Reuse last year. And we still have a small fleet available, but mainly adolescent and youth bikes, which over the course of 3 years were checked out minimal, mostly adult bikes only going out.
Okay.
So we'll be looking to kind of repurpose those and looking with the Boys and Girls Club to see if they want to kind of start a little bike maintenance entrepreneurship class with the Boys and Girls Club kids.
Excellent. Any other questions for Sarah?
Do you have enough bikes now?
So with the River Rider Bike Share program with Sagster, those will be their own unique bikes, but we're actually going to be looking for community donated bikes or funding to purchase bikes for people who need more long-term bike ridership.
Choose to Reuse this weekend at Grand Rapids.
I'm looking for some bikes that we might be able to take.
Last year, we had lots.
I gave you all those. Yeah. We'll be looking for bikes for funding to support those who are unbanked. That's the one population that we're working with to make sure that they're still able to utilize bikes. This program right now, you do need to have a credit or debit card, but we're working with the library for funding to make bikes available for people who are unbanked.
I move approval of the now revised location if it satisfies you, Sarah. I think it offers great visibility, it's out of the way, and it's also, it's easily accessible to the trail just as the other spots were.
I guess the one question I have on that rack, is that double-sided or single-sided?
Single-sided.
Okay.
Yep. And it's not mounted, it's freestanding.
Okay.
How many bikes? I'm sorry, you biked us there.
There's 5 bikes, but it's a 10 parking space.
I'll second that.
Motion by the mayor, second by Lee, to approve the bike rack location at the zoo per Matt's idea here, more in the front. So, yes, Mayor?
Question, we had talked about doing some overhang coverings at some point because they are permanent racks.
Yep.
Is that still in consideration?
Yep, we just haven't gotten to that step yet because we've been so busy with permits and whatnot.
Fair enough.
So what Zach's saying is we'd like to find throughout the season the 2 locations that are of most use, and then see if we can actually put in coverings so that they can be left out throughout winter season as well. So that's kind of what we're trying to earmark, and the thought was to do 2 locations right off the bat, but we're going to use the data collected from Zagster to hopefully help identify those locations.
Okay, the motion and the second have been recorded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have that.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 4, request from the pickleball group that additional city tennis courts be painted with pickleball lines. Kelly?
Yes, we just wanted to request that the final 4 spaces for pickleball lines be painted. Previously, 4 sets of lines were painted and used and larger groups coming out, and also, more groups forming at churches, and, even kind of a shared thing, Clover, Wausau, Point, they all have, 40 to 60 players. We go over there and play sometimes. Sometimes I'm nervous about inviting them this way because I'm afraid we won't have enough space, but it is nice to share. And I know the Grand Witter project will be, happening, and, at which time we'd like to be included in that, but I guess prior to that, this would be wonderful if it could be accommodated.
When you say additional lines, are you talking, so every court there would be?
Presently there's 4 tennis courts, and you can put lines on either side of the court, so 1 tennis court equals 2 pickleball courts.
Okay, yeah.
Presently we have 4 pickleball courts, and there's still space for 4 more in that 4 tennis court area.
Okay.
We didn't really just take 2 of the tennis courts, we picked the 4 best spots on the courts, so they're, not uniform or anything, but, another problem we tend to run into, if tennis players come before we do, they'll take the best court, which they should, and I would too, but that encompasses 2 of ours, so then we'll share just the 2 that are left. It would be ideal to, be able to not have that concern.
Yeah. Right now, these X courts are the ones that are striped.
Okay.
These other ones aren't. And these 2 are the best for both sports, tennis and pickleball. So if tennis players come there, they're using that. We get more than enough people to fill these, but we're limited to like half, and that's just how it works. But if we could get 2 or all 4 redone. Now I stopped there just now. The lines you painted last year all are very, very good. The court prep that they did, some of that has sunk in a little bit. They might have to do just a little bit more tarring to make it more level playing surface. But the 2 best ones to do would be the 2 corner ones. The other 2 would need more work, but if we can get 6, great. 8 would be ideal.
Are you getting resistance from the tennis players
Well,
regarding
the only time tennis players show up is when the courts at the schools are filled. So are we getting a lot? No, but when we do, it becomes a problem.
the meat
They
heads?
aren't the tennis players, they want nice and smooth surface too, and the schools keep theirs nice. They get better budget than you guys do.
That goes at meat,
Is that true, Craig?
meat.
Flush with cash, yeah, absolutely.
Single taxpayer.
None of them at meat.
There are 2 at Mead, but they're not laid out like this. They use they just use the tennis net and with half a pickleball on each side of the tennis net, but you have to chase balls so far. This way you've got the tennis net serving as a backstop, and you've got the fence serving as a backstop. Just speeds up play, makes it, and you can utilize it. I was looking at your video
Operation
and the map there, and that's a nice aggressive plan. But you could put 6 pickleball courts in where you have 2 tennis courts. So you'd be tripling your exposure on how many people you could access just by if you put dedicated courts. I'm not saying you do that here, but on your long range planning, if you'd include half of your tennis area as pickleball area and the other half tennis area, you'd get 2 to 3 times as many courts for pickleball as you would for tennis. And I don't know if the research that these retirement communities and all that are doing, if you look at the ads on TV now, and you see them doing all these sports, golf and everything else, you see them playing pickleball, they don't even show tennis anymore. So you know what the up and coming, recreation is. It doesn't take as much equipment, it doesn't take as much time, and it accommodates more people. I didn't mean to take up all this time, but you put me on a soapbox here.
We had one call, I think, from the tennis people, and their concern was, they say when you have all the lines painted, and I'm not a tennis player or a pickleball player, but they said it was confusing, basically.
Sure.
And we're the same way, we'd like you to eliminate all the tennis lines.
Yeah. So,
and,
you know.
And the basketball players don't like the volleyball lines, and you know how that is.
So with that being said, I think you're just looking at a compromise here, so, you know, what you're looking at, so.
Well, the condition of the courts, with future plans for Mead and Witter, kind of up in the air, because they're gonna be totally relocated, right?
Well, the condition, I mean, they definitely need to resurface at
Both
some
of them,
point
yeah.
in the near future.
I mean, whether they get moved or not, something's gonna have to happen, but we're hoping that
Is the plan that they stay there, though?
Yeah.
It is?
Mhm.
Okay.
at Witter,
Yeah.
yeah.
Not where they
No, they are.
necessarily are though, right
Yeah.
now, they might be relocated in that area.
No,
No.
at Witter they stay.
In the
Right
construction
where they are
docs,
now?
yeah, the construction docs were drawn essentially where the master plan showed them.
I think that's.
The Mead ones would move, they would
But
move.
you resurface
Right, I think the
Yeah.
Mead plan, yeah, right, that's my understanding. I tend to agree that that's certainly up and coming. I didn't get any calls, I actually got calls, people thanking us, so I appreciate the users that do, because not all the time do we hear the positives, a lot of times we hear the
Sure.
negatives, so I think. I
Like I said,
appreciate
we
that.
only have one.
Yeah, and that's, I think, really good to hear. I mean, I personally support proceeding. I mean, I think we should do some maintenance activity there, knowing that we're not going to do any construction on those in the near future. I mean, it's kind of a holdover of how much do you stick into there for maintenance. I'm not sure how much you can do in a cost-effective fashion, but it'd be nice to see maintained a little bit. I don't want to create trip hazards on the surfaces. That wouldn't be a.
I guess we'd have to look at it and see have somebody give us an idea of what we can do.
Well, maintaining them is filling the cracks and things, does that
The
work?
cracks have sort of seeped down a little bit, it's settled, and so
They're doing
kind
that
of
every
cave.
year.
But if-
Some of them, not all of them.
But if they're maintained, if they're redone, will that survive?
I think if they're redone, you know, the lines were put in perfect, and they held up through the winter. You know, a couple more courts of lines, and we're in business, and then you guys can give us our 6 good ones later.
The problem we have there is the asphalt is so dry that after every winter, it's cracking open again. And the last 2 or 3 times we've filled the cracks, they basically told us you're wasting your time.
Yeah, you are.
Because there's nothing underneath there, so the crack filler just settles in, and so, you know, regardless, I guess what happens, I think everybody's well aware of the fact that both Mead and Witter would have to be redone if they stay in their current location in the very near future.
Sure.
So, and all the top surfacing, we tried to repair that at Mead 2 years ago, I think it was.
So
And
if it's redone, because this is not an uncommon conversation, oddly enough, I had it in my former community where we put in new tennis courts and they wanted pickleball lines on them on the front end. And I guess my question is there a way that these can be painted, or at least we can advise them to be painted so that it's less intrusive to a tennis game, for example? Because I know for a fact that, as you said, there's pickleball just about every stinking community, and if there's not, they're coming, you know? So it makes a lot of sense to have a spot, but I wonder if there's a different technique or approach for striping that
Yeah.
makes the tennis court stand out better than the pickle, you know what I'm saying?
Maybe
or-
color alone would help.
I don't know.
Different color, I
Different
don't
color
know.
would help.
With reference to when it's resurfaced. I'm not
Right.
talking like now,
Right,
but I'm saying
right.
if it was
Well, if you're gonna
resurfaced in the
make them
future.
multi-use, yeah, you'll have to have different colors, but, you know, right now, all the tennis courts typically are white.
Yep.
And so these are yellow here, but we use blue at the YMCA, and, you know, so, you know.
So my question is do you have any other courts around Rapids, or is it just at the Witterfield location?
There's 2 at, the Mead as well, but those are, if if you wanna look at Witters are set up, 2 pickleball courts on 1 tennis court, where the ones or those are Witter, at Mead, it's 1-to-1, so, and it's only about half the size of a tennis court, so you're chasing a ball a long ways when you miss, and I miss a lot.
The ones that Mead, they use the tennis net as their sport net, and a real pickleball net isn't that size, it's smaller, so it messes up a game if you're competitive.
Do you haul in your nets when you play?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's different heights, I mean, the pickleball net's 2 inches small, shorter than,
So I don't think the Mead location is used for pickleball anymore, typically. This is a more modern setup now at Witter that they allowed last year.
Would,
That's preferred.
by painting these, lines on, would that accommodate the user group? I mean, as far as the size, I mean, 8 would accommodate what you guys are looking for, or is that not enough yet?
Yes, it would definitely accommodate what is present now and what might be coming. I mean, there's a lot of communities, even up north, smaller than Rapids that have 12. But no need to be greedy. I mean, I think you have to kind of,
Well, the only reason I ask is, as the mayor alluded to, is I've been working for 3 years on the Witter Field project, and we set up a 501c3 to revitalize the athletic fields there, plus with the splash pad and the relocation of the tennis courts and pickleball. So definitely, what I'm saying is that we should definitely make that space accommodable for what you guys are looking for, as well as tennis.
Yeah.
But my question is, and the reason I'm asking is because I don't know, does the tennis group currently have enough courts for them to play on?
I don't know that we've necessarily gotten a complaint about capacity, we've just gotten complaints about condition. That's been the biggest complaint, because Assumption was playing at Mead, and then they moved to Witter. But yeah, more condition, I think, than capacity.
but if you use your present plan of 3 tennis courts, you could vacate one tennis court and put in 4 pickleball courts and still have 2 tennis courts, if you're worried about space.
Well, I'm just worried about, you guys growing, and the complaint I heard was the
Usage.
same thing.
How much usage there
Yeah,
is.
that's.
And I have no idea how much pickleball is that a league on demand?
kind of a club effect for the time being, but they're kind of growing now. There's kind of several littler clubs, and I know in Rome too, they have a club and they have just two spots to play, and there's like 50 people, and they wait and take turns on too. I don't know how they're so patient, but yeah. So
You don't have it at the high school, do you?
You wouldn't be able to have WIA sanctioned events if you had pickleball lines painted on your courts, so we're limited in what we're able to do.
There are a lot of young folks that actually go up to Point in wintertime and play indoor pickleball at Century, I think. So I don't play it myself, I'm not familiar, but a lot of people I know I'm starting to use pickleball quite a bit.
Well, there you go, you need a roof.
Yeah, if it could be indoor, that'd be great.
It is taught in the school systems now, so
It has been taught for about
PE
5 or
departments
6
are
years.
teaching pickleball.
Longer.
Longer? Did you have it taught?
Since I was there.
Oh, we won't say how long.
One time. We'll go with 5 years.
That sounds good.
There are some other courts throughout the city. I think Ward Johnson or
Ward
Northern
Johnson.
has.
That's in
but
terrible
bad
condition.
condition.
Well, regardless of pickleball, you'd have to do surface maintenance at some frequency. I mean, even if it was just tennis.
Like I said, the problem is we're at end of life, and whatever we do will be temporary at best.
Oh, what would be a normal cycle that you would, or do you just wait to see what the conditions are before?
Every year in the spring, it's different. A couple of years ago, and then we had that severe cold, and we had some freeze-thaw cycles. That old asphalt split wide open. There was cracks an inch wide. And at that time, we had an asphalt contractor come and look at it, and they basically laughed. you know, there's not much you can do. They ended up, saw cutting some of the cracks, and then we put like a cold patch in, and then we put a topping conditioner, you know, and then re-rolled the spots where the surface was coming up, but it didn't even last a year.
If you're gonna maintain tennis courts, you're gonna do a resurfacing probably every 5 to 10 years, and they've talked about, depending on what the base is, 20 to 30 years where you completely chew it up and lay it down again.
Yeah.
And I bet you that's been 40.
Both of those are, I would say 30 plus.
There you go.
Since
Which
the
is
last
pretty
major-
standard.
Since they
last
were
major.
built.
Yeah, but they've been resurfaced there, I think.
I don't, they've been coated and they've been patched, but I don't know if they've been overlaid.
Yeah, that's the issue.
Yeah.
And part of the, so it's a double-edged sword, because you're not gonna, I mean, most cities, school districts don't have the budget to do the upkeep on a proper approach. And then what you get is what we've got, which is really old asphalt.
And I don't think you could actually overlay that anymore.
No, that's
You'd
gotta
have to
be
grind it
guaranteed.
all up.
Absolutely.
And start from
Start
scratch.
again.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. But typically that's a 5 to 10 year, and then complete redo 20 to 30. And sometimes they'll tell you you're lucky if you get 30.
Yeah, and we're there.
30's a long time.
Yes, it is. I think we should paint the lines. That's my attitude. On as many courts
Paint
as
is
we can.
cheap.
You make a motion?
I move to paint the courts as requested.
Motion by Craig, is there a second? Second that. Lee, to paint the additional pickleball courts as requested. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you so much.
I can't tell you exactly when this will happen. That's gonna be the street department, or I mean, the sign shop that'll be doing that work.
Of course.
They don't even have their paint yet, so I can't give you a time frame yet, but I'll put it on their agenda.
Understood.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
After
you
the snow
very
melts.
Item number 5, request from Tom Sachs to move the Memorial Rock from Veterans Park to the west side flagpole location. I know this was brought up at the last meeting, and is there some additional information you were
I
bringing us,
didn't
Tom?
get any, like I said, if you wanted pictures, I'm not sure. The stone they want, or the headstone they wanna put in adjacent to that rock. I talked to Dan McCarville from Heart of Monument, just haven't heard back from him yet. Likewise, he hasn't heard from Decorah, there's a guy that wants to put the stone in there first place.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you wanna wait until I get a.
We're probably
I have
still.
no idea how big a headstone he wants to put in there,
Okay.
but,
I think we're gonna have to wait again then until we can get a.
I get paid by the hour.
So,
So, like I said,
Wasn't last month's discussion though about, I guess maybe depending on the size, not to do anything where it is, and I'm just trying to recall that discussion.
it was just, I don't know if they want, Matt made a comment or somebody about putting it on footings, which I don't think, I think just put the stone right down on
But you wanted to move it, right?
from the Veterans Park to the west side, back to the west side where it was originally.
If I recall, the issue was that there was a memorial that was gonna be placed alongside the stone.
Just a headstone, maybe,
Yeah,
and that's,
but Susan didn't wanna do that, right? So that's why you said,
well, no,
let's
she
move it.
she wants it out of there.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
She wants
So,
it, right.
we're gonna, I mean, that's not gonna go away, probably depending on
No.
whatever they want, whatever the donors want.
Like I say, all I know, because you look on the stone itself and there's Decorah's name, I think there's 2 or 3 of them on there. And they were original, from World War I or whatever, before that even, I don't know what.
Yeah, so all I'm thinking is we're gonna have to make a decision. Either they don't get to add to it or you move it. That's what it sounds like to me.
Well, yeah, I guess moving the stone was one thing, but whatever was gonna go next to it was another.
Right.
Yeah.
See, that was a big issue, with Sue, that they didn't want the stone, another one put next to it. Okay, we put this one in, well, gee, so-and-so like to put a stone in there, you got one, why can't I?
Yeah, so it's all about where it's gonna get moved to, I think, is what.
Alright, as far as moving it to the west side, is there any major problem with that?
I don't know, I remember the courthouse was brought up, I think, as one option. I don't know what the options are, so all I'm getting at is,
Well,
we probably should be looking at whatever those options are, cause it's gonna come to that eventually.
Well, you talked about putting it in its original location, correct?
right,
Yeah.
Which was by the west side
on the
flag.
west side flagpole. That was there when I was.
So that's the spot that we're looking for. There isn't a couple of spots on the table, just that place.
Not really, like I say, I think they mentioned the courthouse before, and that's, but like I said, I remember that stone there when I was a kid. That's many years back.
But what about what's supposed to go with it? Has that been settled, or?
That's what you don't know yet.
No,
Yeah.
that,
So we don't know the size of that or
Right, and that
whatever.
becomes some memorial, and it was, I mean, a larger memorial, and it wasn't really meant, it wasn't intended originally for it to be that way, is what our, that was the concern, I thought, right?
Right.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Like I say, talked to Dan McCarville about it, and I don't know if he got back with Decorah. He lives in Green Bay, with John Decorah. And they're willing to pay the whole expense, whatever it is, but what size, I have no idea.
And I think that was a concern because of the future
Yep.
development over in that area. I think that's what, if I recall, what the biggest concern was, and how big this thing was gonna be.
Yeah. Okay.
And again, as far as moving by the courthouse, I have some say in that over there, if, you know, the committee were on, and makes no difference.
Well, you think there's a desire to have it by the courthouse?
I wouldn't say a desire, but, room, exactly where they wanna put it, that's more with veterans again, like that Veterans Park.
So that would, something like that would have to go through the county board then?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I just,
And maybe you know, Tom, refresh my memory, what was DAR, what did they want? They wanted it to stay where it was?
They didn't have nothing, they didn't say nothing about it.
Okay, cause at one time they had an issue with that, and I don't remember what it was. I think maybe when they were going to redo that existing rock and change the plaque and all that. Because they have some involvement with that.
Yeah, it's there, it's on there, DAR's on the stone itself.
Okay.
And, but when I was talking to Dan about it, he didn't seem to, know anything about it. They had anything to say about it, or
Yeah.
if they were gonna say anything about it.
We did receive some stuff from them, and we had gone back and forth. When was that, Dawn, a year or two ago?
a while ago.
And what it really boiled down to was, I think there's documentation that showed that the city took, I don't know what word you wanna use, not ownership, but basically, you know, it was our
Possession.
prerogative where it went, or, you know, if it was moved or not moved, it became our.
It just seems to me if there are other monuments to veterans, to have them in one place. If you start setting up space for one, then you're opening the door
Right,
for.
that's the same thing with leaving it there and putting another monument next to it.
But,
I can check with the county and find out for sure.
Is there some local veterans groups that we could ask opinion on? I mean, there might be a lot of, not,
I'm in charge of all.
Yeah, you're looking at them.
so, well, so is that the pervasive attitude, that it be moved from its location to the west
Not
side?
really.
it only came up because they wanted to add to it, and
It was,
Susan didn't want it, anything else where it.
because of the fact, Decorah wanted to put another stone next to that one. And.
In its current location?
Right, and Sue very much opposed to it.
Yeah.
That's the whole gist of it all.
Oh, so then the point would be, if we moved it, you could do whatever you wanted over on the west side? I see.
You can do it anywhere, really.
The only reason I bring that up is just, I mean, I would think that being a veteran, the memorial has some kind of significance to you, and maybe the location is a big deal. You know what I mean? And that might be interesting to know, because if you're saying, yeah, it used to be here when I was a kid, that might be.
Now, why it was put there, I have no idea.
Right,
Because that was a major flag, only flagpole in town at the time.
right.
And, I think courthouse wouldn't be a bad place.
Are there other locations other than the courthouse where there's veteran memorials? I can't think of them. That's why the courthouse came up.
Yeah, we talked about that last time about having it be kind of a central spot.
That,
Or,
to me, that makes some sense, but.
Wasn't there at one time, do you still have at one point in the year, there's a small ceremony over by the west side flag?
That's coming up.
Yeah.
The house club.
Okay.
They do a flag presentation there, and, so that's why, it's sort of, to say, sort of fall in with that,
Well, if you're connected to all those groups, it would be good to know what their opinions are, I think.
I do too.
Just,
I'll check with them.
Could
and
you
see what-
research that and even
Maybe
maybe
they
with the
don't care
county and
about
then just our next meeting we
yeah,
can
because
bring
if
it up
that's
again
the
and
case,
finalize.
then why would we care?
yeah.
But where it goes.
It just seems to me you want them all kind of in the same spot.
It would make sense.
I could be wrong.
Well, it would make sense.
It
to
won't be
have-
the first or the last time.
But I just mentioned.
Pardon, Sarah?
What goes in its place once it's moved?
Nothing.
Nothing.
So Veterans Memorial Park, I don't know the history of why it's named Veterans Memorial Park, but if it's based on this rock monument, I'm kind of losing the connection there.
No, it's not based on that. That was, when was that moved over, Matt?
Well, it probably was moved
30
after.
years ago,
Oh, no, it's, how long did you say?
30.
Oh, okay, I thought you said 3. But that sounds about right, cause it had been shortly after the time all those buildings were tore down and the park was built. So that would have been 79, 80.
Because well, on both ends, they got, Meade Memorial, or, was it Meade Veterans Memorial Park, or? Well, 2 plaques on both ends of.
Rapids View is the next one. Or you mean across the?
No, he's talking about the end by both bridges.
Between the 2 bridges,
Yes.
they got a
Yeah,
stone
where they have
plaque with,
one.
Meade,
Yeah, there's a couple of plaques, there's the flag disposal station there, there's a flagpole there, there's,
it's all, there's a World War II Veterans Memorial, plaque on there,
Yeah.
and, well, then we got a park bench there from Vietnam vets. But, yeah, like I said, if they wanna put it over to the courthouse, we'll check on that, put it there. But like I said, the main issue is Sue does not want another stone
Yeah.
placed next to it. That's the whole thing involves on it. So if you wanna wait, I'll get more information and get back with you.
Yeah, I think that's table for now.
I know last meeting, the mayor made a motion to have it postponed. I don't know if we need to, but maybe we should. If there's a motion to have it postponed to the next meeting. I see on the minutes from the last there was.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Second by Craig. Tom, motion, second by Craig to postpone this item until the next meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thanks. Back to where we start.
Thank you.
Thanks. Number 6, request from Mike Sullivan to open winter warming house bathrooms for the skate park use. Mike?
Yep. Hi, my name is Mike Sullivan, 35-year employee of the Wisconsin Rapids Parks. 10 years, the last 10 years is part-time at the ice rink. And this winter, when I was working there, 4 kids across the street came over and they said, "It's too bad this building ain't used for anything else." And I says, "Well, what do you mean? It's open for bathrooms in the summer." And they said, "No, it ain't." And I researched it, and because of some minor damage to it, they closed them. For 2 years now, it's been closed. And the kids have no place to go to the bathroom. Of course, there is a pool with a drain. So they're going and they're going to people's houses and asking, they're going to Burger King and asking, when we got a bathroom there that could be open. And should be open.
Well, if we can manage it with it open in the wintertime for the skating rink, like, how come it's not managed and open in the summertime?
I'll give you a little history on that. They were open, and over the course of the years, we had significant damage there. We had vents punched in, lights broke, cabinet heater broke, motion detectors set on fire, light switches set on fire, garbage cans set on fire, graffiti's on the wall. And it got to the point where we were fixing it, opening it, and it was closed a week later. And this pattern continued. So we finally just shut them down.
And that doesn't happen in the winter?
No,
It's monitored in the winter.
in the winter,
Oh, yeah, if
the
there's staff
bathrooms
in
aren't
there?
open unless there's staff in the.
Their staff, and then they only enter from inside the facility, the outdoors, they're locked from the outside, so they have to enter
Oh, I see
through.
what you're
inside
I
the
don't
facility.
disagree that there's a need for something over there, because I haven't had it in the last few years, but we used to get complaints from Family Video.
There's kids there all the time.
What's gonna happen with
Kids
the?
going over there, so my recommendation in this case, I did some checking on porta potties, and you could get porta potties over there for $200 a month, right at the skate park.
What happens now with splash pads and going forward? I mean, isn't there gonna be?
I think
We
they're
did
gonna
a-
take down that building. That would
Sorry?
be the aquatic. They're gonna take that building down.
Well, is it gonna happen we don't know, phases or?
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna be a need
Yeah, there
for
hasn't been
something.
identified schedule, yeah.
Right. Mike?
Yeah, I don't understand this, why you do the porta potties, when you got a bathroom there, you put a video camera on it and signs on the post in front of it saying, video camera in use, and it'll stop. It'll stop right there.
I don't think it's gonna stop, but.
Video camera costs a lot more than a porta potty would.
We have a video camera.
Oh, there is one.
No, there's not.
So installation.
There's not a
of
camera
that's
there.
Couple of
No,
couple
the
of
Parks Department owns a video camera. With police, they bought it when I was there.
We have nothing. Well, they got like trail cams that they'll put up, but they're battery powered, and that requires constant attention. I mean, the camera system we're talking about is like the kind we put at Robinson Park. I mean, that's a true surveillance system.
I said a question, when Detective DeWitt was active in the startup of the skate park, there was a big active group around
Mhm.
kind of self-policing, and I was wondering if that group is still assembled. I mean, I'm sure I know they're because that was my class, they're graduated and gone, and so are those students, but I'm wondering if there's the current, if there's a group that still is active when you have issues there and you have to close it down, or you've got to issue warnings, if we could try something in this way on this particular issue.
At one time, it was Cassandra Borchardt was real active, and she had a group, and they were actually in those days cleaning up every so often over there for us, and it worked. It just was short term. Once the groups moved on, it kind of reverted back to the same issues we always had. But yeah, it did work for a period of time, but she was very active, very active. I want to say that was around 2011 or so when she was involved, and she did quite a good job actually. She'd go and actually talk to them over there once in a while, and they had, I want to say they even planted some flowers at that time or something over in that area, and they did their best to try to, be
And
self-policing.
that was a user group, right, or were these adults?
That was a user
That's
group,
what
I
I thought,
believe.
okay.
Most of them were junior high school kids that were interested in skating at the skate park. That's where she because she was an officer in the school, so she had contact, so then she found out who was over there, and she kind of grouped them together and spearheaded that group.
I, for one, would like to see the bathrooms open if in fact we can come up with a system where there's a risk and reward, right? And there's a reward if the behavior doesn't continue, and I mean, the risk to the city is we're gonna have to do some maintenance and clean up if situations arise, and I don't wanna open ourselves up for that, but I'd almost ask the police department to, the school resource officers that are not working in the summertime, this would be great, they're not working, but when they're not working in the schools, could they spend some time maybe with some of the users at the skate park?
I have no problem with trying it, but we certainly don't have the time or the staff to be going up there constantly and,
No, it's gotta be north-south policing, that's the only way it's
I
gonna
mean, if we
I agree,
have, we can
yeah.
open them, if we have issues, we'll have to close them.
Yeah.
Cause like I said, there certainly isn't the time or staff to be
Yeah.
going up there every other day and painting and, you know, redoing switches and,
The camera can't be moved from Robinson Park over there?
no. No. That's an integrated system over there. It's all fed back to City Hall. It's,
What did it cost to install that camera? Just out of curiosity.
oh, well, that system up there actually has 1, 2, 3, 4 cameras.
You probably only need 2, but the infrastructure would be the same. The cost of the camera is really not that big of a deal.
No, the biggest problem we had up there was, that was our first camera installation, and what we did up there is we went with a system that actually sent the signal. We started with an antenna that didn't work, and it's live back to here. And what we're thinking in some of these smaller facilities, you could just go with a DVR recorder,
Is it wired or not wired?
wired.
That's what
It is wired.
It's run through Solaris, through the fiber optics back.
Yeah, we ran internet to the park for
Yeah.
that purpose there.
Yeah.
Do you know the ballpark though, what it cost for that at Robinson Park?
That was $30,000, I think.
30?
It was,
Wow.
it was
That much?
with all the.
None of the
solar-
infrastructure was
all the
there,
solar
that was the
No,
issue.
there was
Right.
no infrastructure at all.
Oh,
And we
nothing there?
originally tried a line of sight antenna and the signal wasn't strong enough, it kept dropping out.
Because, I mean, I agree with what Zach's saying. The bottom line is, because one of the things that I always look at is what's being used around the city.
Yeah.
What's being used by kids. There's no question in my mind that the skate park's usually busy, and I was surprised to see that because
Absolutely.
it kind of, you know, skating kind of is dropped off from your day and even mine when I was in high school, in a general sense. But there are kids there every time I go by, sometimes even during school, which I'm not happy to see. You know, there's always kids there. After school, I mean, I've seen
It's busy.
20, 30,
Yeah.
you know, most of the time a dozen.
I would say on a warm evening, that's pretty common.
And clearly, an issue for places for kids to go and use the restroom is a big deal.
It is.
And I don't disagree. I think the attitude is we've got the building there, you know, why shouldn't, and, you know, you're a couple on an evening stroll that night and nature calls, well, hey, I know that there's public restrooms here. To me, that's kind of a community amenity that you probably want to do, and not only does it benefit people walking by, but it benefits the kids using the skate park. However, having run, you know, school districts with multiple facilities, kids do dumb things. Human beings do dumb things. Kids are more inclined to do them more frequently. And continue to, you know, pay for heaters being kicked in and so forth. What I was thinking when we're talking about this is, you know, we have access to not every kid walking the streets of Wisconsin Rapids, but the majority. And I would be more than willing to talk to my SROs and principals about just saying, hey, if you use the skate park, come to this meeting. And start there with kids to say, do you guys want to use the skate park? What about bathroom facilities? Would it be nice to be able to use the bathroom? And have some conversations with kids? Because I know for a fact they can control themselves if they want to. But, you know, start toilet paper on fire is kind of fun too, you know, so we gotta, you know, weigh the pros and cons. And maybe after being closed for 2 years, maybe they get it, maybe some of these kids get it. I don't know.
Like I said, I don't think we're opposed to trying it, as long as, you know, we don't run into the issues we did in the past, because it got to the point where I'd have 2 guys up there for half a day, and I can't afford that kind of.
But there again, you're penalizing the kids from the skate park, you don't even know that it's them.
That's a good point too.
It could be somebody walking by that just wanted to rust.
Yeah.
Well, a couple times when they did catch the ones they caught, we know where they came from, but that's here nor there at this point.
And was it skate park kids with you? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But the activities out there are just gonna grow, so it just seems to me
Well,
that's something you should provide.
at least we know where they're at.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Where do the pickleball people go, or do they have an outhouse there? Do they?
No.
Pickleball doesn't, yeah, they don't, or
So-
tennis users either.
You can only guess.
Where would you go is probably the better question, right? Not you, but where would one go if they?
Public
Gas
restroom
station
access is a
on the
big
block.
deal, and I mean, if we can figure out ways too, like with the pickleball or whatever, that there's more presence over there, I think some of it's gonna take care of itself. Do they get locked at a certain time of night, or,
Those don't have automatic locks,
They
they're
will stay
open.
see, that's part of the problem too.
Well, you could have people sleeping in there and everything
Oh,
That's
we
a
have
little
that in
bit of
our
my issue
parks.
in the evening hours, cause we
But-
do lock the other, some of the other facilities, don't we? Some of the
Robinson
others?
has got automatic locks.
Oh, that's right, okay. I don't know.
I think we should go for it.
You want me to facilitate a conversation with kids?
That'd be great, that's a great
Anything
idea.
that would help
That's a
would be-
super idea.
We can do that.
And we
No
can
problem.
certainly
If
give it a
there's
shot and see what happens.
If we know there's a user group, I don't know what you do hits them or not, but we should at least reach out to them and see if they can police it as well.
I agree. I'd second that motion.
Yeah, whatever it is. I-
You did it. Tom, okay, motion by Commissioner Tom here to approve the skate park toilet facilities to be open during the summer. And it is seconded by the mayor.
Do you wanna read back the motion? Don, what do you have?
Yeah, it's really,
Like,
it's really to open the
To
winter
approve the
warming
skate park
house.
bathrooms to be
Yeah.
open for the summer. Do you want anything about,
With Craig's comments, or?
Yeah, I think just
Yeah,
with an implication, or in a.
With the outreach to the.
Indication
Yeah,
there's
that'll
not.
be
And I would like to be able, if I do have problems, to lock.
That was gonna be my addition.
Would
to
it
the
come back
motion.
here first, or you're just gonna shut them down?
If it was like last time, we had to shut them down because it created an unsafe situation for the public. I mean, you had broken stuff, exposed electrical wires.
Well, let's do this. Let's amend the motion to read that the city has permission, of course, to close the bathrooms down for health and safety reasons.
Right.
And I think that we need a monthly or maybe every couple of month report on the circumstances over there at the skate park.
Sure.
If we can keep our
Yeah.
crap together, no pun intended.
Mhm.
Actually, I intended, it was kind of fun.
I support
So
it.
now do you have that,
So
Dawn?
now you're gonna have to read it,
My
cause I don't know what it
goodness.
is.
well, there's so many here, man. Let's
That's a
see.
motion by Tom, or still by Tom?
Yeah.
You wanna
I
take
can
credit for
Could
it?
be a long
No,
one.
no, it's not important, but I will.
Okay, so motion by Tom to approve the skate park bathrooms to be open in the summer, but with the city's permission to close the bathrooms due to health issues or other, what else did you say?
And the outreach part,
And out-
we
okay.
said we would do.
I
Did
have
we
that
get
at
to
the top.
Just
part.
say health.
Yeah, what was the other?
Health or safety?
Health and
Health and
safety,
safety,
okay.
yep.
And then you had mentioned
Bi-monthly
getting the
review.
word out to principals
I'll do
and
monthly.
SROs.
I'll take care of that tomorrow. School resource officers,
got it.
our school
Yep.
resource officers and building principals to see if we can facilitate a conversation. I mean, we have no ability to say, everybody that uses a skate park, please come, but
Right.
I'm guessing we'd be able to get a pretty decent number of kids to show up and just kind of tease it out there and say, hey, do you want to use the restroom?
Well, and can't speak to the last time we had any outreach to that group. I mean, I think it'd be good just to have some opinions and thoughts about that facility. I mean, you take good care of it, but it's just, what's their feelings about it.
Good call.
I think you might find, so I'm able to go to a high school conversation every now and then for their, days, but a lot of the high school students actually want the skate park expanded. So
Yeah.
I think you'll be surprised, there's a lot of usage over there and interest in doing it.
And they gotta help take care of it.
So I think you'll find the conversation's probably really interesting.
Well, and the interesting, because that's the other thing I was trying to pay attention to. I haven't been on the skate park, but driving by a couple of times a day at a minimum, it's in pretty good condition.
Yeah.
So they know how to take care of that.
Yeah.
Well, we've done a lot of work to that.
Well, clearly, I mean, this is part of having community amenities,
Yeah.
that's, but I am specifically looking to see our kids doing stupid stuff while they're over there,
Yeah.
largely unsupervised, and in most cases, I've been pleasantly surprised that it's been okay.
Well, I'd like to see some signage, if you see something suspicious, to report it and put the dispatch phone number right on it. I mean, there's just that element of everyone doing their part.
And then maybe reiterate the fee associated with that.
Fee.
Fee of vandalism, that kind of thing,
Oh,
maybe,
yeah.
maybe
Oh,
put
right.
something along the lines of some sort of, value, and I don't know what the fee
Mhm.
structure is, but make sure it's
I've seen those similar.
loud and clear that, hey, you
Yeah.
get caught or somebody catches you doing it, you get reported, this is the
To whatever the court costs, and minimum 3 something with court costs, so I think, it's a pretty good
It's gonna
deterrent.
be up in the threes by now.
I think it's 350 probably with court costs.
Okay, and then throughout the month, every month, Matt's gonna report on that too. So. Okay, I think everybody understands the motion? Okay, it was made by Tom and seconded by the mayor. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item number 7, update on Park Department future outlay projects. I know every month Matt has some updates on all of our future plans here. I know.
Well, I actually, what I had done is, the last meeting, we had wanted a total of what was in outlay, and we had already gone through the revised.
It was Legion Park, I think is.
Yeah, and so,
Oh, yeah.
I checked on outlay, and there's currently $214,935 in park outlay. And then the other request was to check to see how much money was set aside for Legion Park. Currently, there's $3,170.
That's in reserves?
That's
for
in
Legion?
reserve for Legion Park. There originally was a amount close to that, I don't recall exactly what it was, and then, 1,600 was taken off of there for the original table, right, Don, the original
Yeah.
was around 1,600, and then
16.
the mill, or was it
Consolidated.
consolidated, it gave 2,400, which got us back to this 3,170 figure.
I pose the question just because I think the leadership group has the plan sort of set up, and I think we've got concrete paths to do other work, and I'm wondering if it's time to just close out the account and do the rest of the work. I mean, I think, you know, whether it's some of the electrical work, planning for water and lights, relocation of that light pole.
I guess that would be the question, what would be the priority for this 3,170?
I think maybe come back with some figures on what some of those other costs are associated with that work. Because there's an outstanding donation committed by the Mead Witter Foundation, but they hadn't seen the plan or the costs, the remaining costs.
Okay.
So they had made a pledge, as well as the city Park and Rec Commission at the time made the pledge as well.
So I guess, who would be,
I
that
don't think
original
there'll be-
leadership group is basically non-existent now, correct?
I would say so.
So is it gonna be our decision as to what the priority is gonna be on this?
I think either administratively or the Park and Rec Commission.
Okay.
Because the Park and Rec Commission approved the plan.
Right.
And I think it's a matter of allocating the resources, maybe just doing a quick assessment internally.
So at this point, we'll take a look at that plan and see what all was on there, and I guess decide, maybe associate some costs to those and
Just get it done.
go from there. Okay.
You weren't a part of that leadership group, were you?
No, I wasn't. Okay. We don't have any action on it.
Were you in the lighting?
No, the entrance, we were entrance.
Do we have a
Okay.
copy of that in our office, Don?
I don't know for sure. I'll find out.
Okay, we move on to item number 8, election of officers. I don't know who's all up. I know I am, and I know, Lee, you're the representative of the planning commission, and I see I'm still in the directory as on the planning commission. Are you?
Are you getting calls for it?
No, Matt and I looked at the new one.
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
There's a new one online that has Lee's name in it.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, this was the book form, the blue.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know when
That's
she
been
produced
updated.
those.
Okay.
That's updated every time there's a change to the directory.
Okay.
Just so you don't print new copies.
So I know the Park and Rec Commission has a representative assigned to the Plan Commission, but I don't know if your term is up yet, Lee, or if we have to.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I thought we just did that.
We did, I
Not-
thought we did it last year.
Not so long ago, was that?
Usually last May.
July or August,
Yeah.
maybe?
Oh,
I
was
think
it?
it was later than May.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
So.
So you we've got 3 spots to fill, chairperson, vice chair, and the rep to the planning commission, right? Those are the 3.
So, I know in my years here, I didn't, the president didn't run it, but I will. I don't have a problem with that, but, so, I guess nominations are open for the president.
Nominate Kelly for chairperson.
Chairperson. One more time, nominations are open, or 2 more times, nominations are open for president. Nominations are open for president of the Park and Recreation Commission.
I move nominations be closed for chairperson.
Second.
Okay, all in favor for myself to stay on as
How are you voting?
as chairman?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you, I'm happy to do this. And vice president, vice chair,
Lee Graff.
nominations are open for Lee Graff.
No. I'm not interested.
Okay.
I'll nominate
Thank you.
Lee Tao, the vice chair.
Nominations are open for vice chair. One more time, nominations are open for vice chair.
Move nominations be closed.
Oh, okay.
Second.
Nominations closed by Craig, second by Derek. All in favor, signify by saying aye for Lee to be vice chairman.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And the representative to the planning commission. There's a park and rec commission member.
I nominate Lee Tao again,
Yes.
to continue to serve on the planning commission role.
Nominations for park and rec commission representative to the planning commission. Nomination for park and rec representative to the planning commission. Is there a second for Lee Tao?
I'll second.
Second by Derek. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Lee. That's a tough commission, you know.
Yeah, come on, it's easy.
Oh,
I run an easy meeting, I'm the
wow.
chair, I run an easy meeting.
You're going through something right now I wouldn't wanna be a part of it.
I was gonna nominate you, I was gonna ask you if you wanted to be put in the cage with the lions.
It's Rosecrans Street.
Yeah.
That should be pretty easy, right? That's what I was thinking.
It's true, there's some irony in that, isn't it?
All right, thanks, everybody. Okay, we move on to number 9. We've always had a little problem here getting a quorum on the last Wednesday of every month, so I guess Dawn and I talked about maybe having a little discussion here on when it would work best for most people, beginning of the month, on a Monday night, or any input. There's always gonna be times when some of us can't make it, obviously, but, so.
From my personal perspective, if we would do Mondays and we can keep the 4 o'clock-ish time frame, that does work quite well because I'm on the clock coming up for a school board meeting. So typically, there's nothing else school-wise stacked on those evenings for me, but again, that's just me.
That's good, your input is valuable, so that's good. Tom, I think.
Oh, I like Mondays. I don't care what part of the month it's in, but Monday is
Can I
fine.
offer third Mondays? The planning commission meets first Mondays, so that would be a
Oh, isn't it first and third?
We've only been doing that for the zoning code rewrite, so we generally have only the once a month.
We still have that one coming up, though.
Special one maybe?
Yeah.
Is that's in June with the zoning code, so we
I
don't
believe
have a
so.
conflict? I'm for that
Yeah.
part of the meeting.
Yep. I believe it's just for June, so, yeah, Monday should work, as long as it doesn't have a conflict with our planning.
Next planning one?
Yeah.
If it's the second Monday, I have more availability than the third, because the third would get filled
And
up
then
with
that-
other things
that
for
should
me.
work well with the planning commission.
This is the second, this one.
Yes,
Yeah, that's fine.
So.
but again, it doesn't have to be
Lee,
all about
Graham,
me.
how are you with, Mondays?
Mondays are tough for me, but, I'll do what I can.
Derek?
Second Mondays are fine with me.
Second Monday? Is that all right with everybody?
Try it, anyway.
Doesn't mean it always has to be that way, but
At least shoot for
You're
it.
gonna
I like that
have
idea.
issues come up anyway.
No, absolutely.
Should we do a motion on that so that's for the record for,
I think just consensus within the minutes, maybe just mention that in there.
So second Monday.
Second Monday.
second Monday of the month at 4 o'clock instead of the last Wednesday.
We can meet here too.
I think so, I didn't check the calendar.
Okay. Could, we're gonna jump to staff reports. Derek or Tom, could you look at the bills so we can, when we get to that?
I can look at the bills?
Would you? We're gonna move
Oh,
ahead.
yeah.
We're gonna
be happy to.
We're gonna move ahead to number 11 here for staff reports and for, Mary, if you'd like to
I have
start us
my
out.
written report that's going around. I've got a list of the spring recreation classes at the top there, and then along with the listing of the new summer classes that are being offered. The summer flyer went out at the end of April, beginning of May to all the schools, daycares, and preschools. We were also represented at the Children's Festival at Lincoln High School on the 21st, as well as the job fair at Lincoln High School. 31 prospective summer seasonal, so we're hoping to interview, we're gonna finish up interviewing kids tomorrow, so hopefully I'll have my staff hired, for the summer then, cause I'm still looking at hiring for a couple more positions. Went staff training, I have set for all of my summer seasonal employees on May 23rd. School is out a little later this year due to some unforeseen snow.
Some guy kept canceling
So-
that.
Somebody kept canceling school, so, so we're gonna start most of our programs the week of June 11th will be our big kickoff with a lot of our summer programs starting. The zoo will be open Memorial Day weekend, that'll be our big kickoff on May 28th. And the Mead Splash Pad hopefully will be also open for the first time on May 28th, Memorial Day weekend.
Good. Any questions of Mary? Thank you very much, Mary. Matthew?
Well, it's been a wonderful spring, as everybody knows. We're about 2.5 weeks behind on virtually everything that we do, but that's what Mother Nature dealt us. So we did finally begin mowing now with a partial staff. I haven't gotten all my summer help yet. In fact, I just got my first 2 today, 1 summer help, 1 LTE. So we're able to send mowers out. We're working on a new mower plan for this year. We bought 2 zero turns, and we're trying to come up with a mowing plan that's a little more efficient. We're gonna send the zero turns out on their narrow boulevards, like on the expressway, because the big mowers have to jump off the curb, back on the curb, off the curb, and it's a safety issue, and it's actually slower. So the plan is to use the zero turns on our narrower medians and use the big mower in the wide open spaces, and hopefully, once we get that thing rolling, that will actually be more efficient and hopefully save some time. Park bathrooms we've got opened up except for Robinson Park. We're doing a repaint on the inside, and we've ground the floors and re-epoxied those. We should have those done this week as well. We're in the process of doing leaf pickup yet. We've done some tree removals for the Demetz Park project, and we'll have 1 or 2 to do yet on the High Street project. We've done some removals over there, but there's a few more. We're doing the spring cleaning at Centralia and City Hall, the floors, carpets, windows, that type of thing. Working on sprinkler systems, getting them fired up and ready to go. Rental facilities will start this week. We did have 1 rental this last weekend for the plant sale down at Helen's house. Working on zoo and splash pad prep. We'll probably be starting that this week. We already fired up the water today so that Shallows could do a test run of their sprinkling system at the splash pad. We're working on our generator information for fire stations 1, 2, and City Hall. Joe's been working with me on that. We reviewed the preliminary request for proposals today on the generator unit itself. And once we do a comparison with that, then we have to get some pricing on actual installation. That'll be the second phase, and once we've compiled all that information, then it'll go to committee. So, one of the biggest problems we're having this year is we have a summer help shortage. It's gonna make things extremely challenging this year. I think total at the beginning of the year, what do we have, 9 applicants? 10?
10 or 11.
And then we had 2 that changed their mind. So actually total for DPW, wastewater, and parks, we're down 2.
You wanted 13.
Right,
And you're at 11.
we're at 11.
How much recruitment still is ongoing? I mean, I wouldn't accept that ultimately if we can.
I don't think
continue
it's
to
ultimate,
recruit,
but I mean, typically
looking
by
for-
now, we should be close to full. We usually will get our last ones the first week of June. But the first year I started with the city, we had 50-some applicants for summer help. And we actually did a lottery system then because there were so many applicants. And now, this year, we had to take everybody that walked in the door.
I have a question there, and Craig, maybe you can answer. Is that something you can reach out for? Both my kids were Park and Rec internships. We had to pay big dollars for them to do an internship. Here are these kids that get paid. Is that something a person could look to point or something for?
Absolutely.
just a
I
question.
did
because-
email the counselors at Lincoln and Assumption, but the only requirement is they do need to be 18, so it would limit it to probably seniors.
Seniors only.
Mhm.
And the wages are, probably haven't been adjusted too much.
10.50,
So they
up to
10.50.
12 max. It's higher than it was.
Yeah, I know, I remember we adjusted it, but still, it's
Yeah.
tough to do.
It's concerning.
Fast food is
I mean,
all that different.
Unfortunately, it's
Discussion with a lot of
comparable to
business
other
owners are having the
municipalities,
same.
too.
It's just.
Oh, it's
Same
not
issue,
just us.
Finding workers.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
If you talk to any of the trades, they're all, I talked to the electricians, they're having the problems, the carpenters are having the problems.
Yep.
City has a
Everybody's-
4.1 unemployment rate right now. I mean, it's the lowest it's been. What do you
It's
do? Just not the available labor.
It's tough. And, you know, obviously, we got work to do and we don't have the bodies to do it, so. But hopefully, we'll get a couple of late comers here.
You still have how many spots open?
Two. But it's amazing when you look at that time frame where we were 10 years ago and what we're getting now.
Craig, did you want me to send you the posting?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Must be a whole list of community service that needs to be done somewhere.
Yeah, and paid, right? It's a paid.
Yeah.
thing.
Well, yeah.
Great.
And, you know, I know it would've been big for me when I was that age, you know.
Guaranteed full time.
Guaranteed 40 hours a week,
Yeah.
Yeah.
all summer,
Weekends off.
In normal hours, right?
Mhm.
in normal hours.
Mhm.
You know, they gotta
7 to
work,
3.
they gotta rotate weekends, but, you know, they're only working a weekend every 3 weekends or 4. So, you know, there was kids I can remember, they'd be 12, 15, 18 hours a week, you know, and they wanted the money. And this is guaranteed 40.
Yeah, well, I'll see if I
Must
can
be a
do.
better deal
I'll send it to
somewhere.
Would you take old retired guys?
You got somebody
You
in
know
mind?
anyone? Are you at least 18?
Bend over a little bit.
He's 18.
You're 18, you got your driver's license?
I'll throw you on a lawnmower and come back till the end of August.
Okay, a couple more yet, Matt, or sprinklers, or?
Nope, I
rentals? You
kinda
finished?
jumped around.
Okay, any questions of Matt? All right, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Tom, did the bills look okay?
Yep, you want me to summarize this?
You don't have to if you're.
I can,
if they look.
cause nobody else.
Then we'll look for a.
That's a total of $6,180.44. There's probably 4 large ones here that I see. Tree removal, not quite sure exactly where that was, for $668.
That would have been, when we have a tree that's up in the power lines, you have to have somebody that is equipped for, we can't get within more than 10 feet of a power line.
Yeah, so looks like Waterworks
That's
stepped in
Davies,
for that.
yeah.
Looks like some skate park maintenance, 1,067.
That's that skate light surfacing,
Yeah.
that it gets cracked,
It's not
it
cheap
holes in
either.
it, yeah, it's not cheap.
Mead Witter, that's baseball, clay, chalk.
Correct.
These are like the supplies, $1,655 roughly. And some printing, which are for your summer program, looks like
Summer
for
fun.
It's actually
$680.
cheaper to do it outside than.
So
internally.
those were the
Okay.
major ones there.
All right, is there a motion to approve the monthly bill?
I'll move to approve
Tom?
the bills.
Second that.
Second by Lee, to approve, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
By Greg, by Nick, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you everyone.